Hello and welcome to the PRWeek Global Awards 2021. The second part of the awards presentation is coming up shortly. But first, here's PRWeek Editor-in-Chief, Danny Rogers.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to the second part of this year's Global Awards from PRWeek. I'm Danny Rogers, I'm the Editor-in-Chief of PRWeek for the UK and EMEA regions, and we've got many more worthy winners to reveal to you in this section. If you entered these awards, thanks so much for your support of PRWeek. We were generally bowled over by the sheer calibre and entries of this year. It was really inspiring. And thanks, of course, to all the judges who judged these awards. So, here are the winners, and I hope to see you all in real life very soon.
Thanks, Danny. Now, before we reveal the winners in the second part of the awards presentation, here's the Great Return and Beyond Adapting Employee Engagement panel session brought to you by our sponsor Zeno Group and chaired by the VP and Editorial Director of PRWeek US, Steve Barrett.
Hello everyone, this is Steve Barrett, the Editorial Director of PRWeek US. Delighted to be joining you here at the PRWeek Global Awards. We've got a great panel discussion ahead of us and we're going to talk about the Great Return and Beyond. I was in Manhattan yesterday from my Brooklyn home, and it really felt like the city was getting back to normal a bit and the subways were filling up, which I don't know if it's a good thing, but it's going to happen. We've all, we've all missed the office and convening with people, but certain things have changed. We've all been working from home for over 12 months. Well, not all of us, as we'll find out, but a lot of people have. So what does that mean for the industry? What does that mean for employee engagement? We're really going to get into that discussion, which has been supported by Zeno. So thank you for that. And we've got Laura Duda, who's SVP and CCO at Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. And we've got Molly McCabe, who's VP Communications, Community, Diversity and Inclusion at Ulta Beauty. And we've got Mark Shadle, who's the MD of the Global Corporate Affairs at Zeno Group. So welcome everybody to this chat. Great to have you with us.
Thanks, Steve.
Here.
Thank you.
Yeah, now I think we've got two in the office and one at home, and one has been in the office most of the time. The others, I think Mark is sort of coming back, and Molly, you yet to go back. So we've got a really good mix here. Let's start with you, Laura, because you were saying you've only actually really been out for 3 weeks, and you're based in Akron, Ohio. And I guess that maybe that's a little easier than if we're in New York or Chicago or San Francisco. But tell us about it. What is the new normal of the workplace going to look like? And what are the issues that you're considering both as a communicator, but also as a business?
So I think, Steve, it's almost kind of like we focus on the people returning to work, which is a certain segment, but actually we have over 60,000 associates and most of them kind of never left. They're working in factories, they're working in retail stores. We're, as part of the transportation industry, we're an essential service. So most of our people never left or left only very briefly. So that's one thing to think about. And I read an interesting article in Slate the other day, and the title was, "It's been hard not to roll my eyes. Essential workers are already over your whining about returning to work." And I think we do. Yeah, I think we do. It's an interesting article, and it puts in perspective for a lot of companies, the people doing the actual work are still out there doing it and haven't stopped. However, there are the office associates and employees that are also very important. And I think this is a big shift. It was a big shift to leave. We're a traditional in the office kind of company. And for that sector of the workforce, it was a big deal to leave. It's going to be a big deal to come back. We've been in a hybrid where when you need to be here, you're here. When you don't need to be here, you can be at home. I think that I think when we all left, we thought it would be 3 weeks, and
Yep,
now it's been over a year. So I think there are going to be some reintroduction issues coming back in for that slice of the workforce. But we do see a lot of benefit to being together. We think flexibility is really important, but I think feels like there's about 10 people in the building. I look forward to a lot more interaction in the future.
Yeah, and look, whilst we've been at home, we have been working. So, more than ever, actually, probably longer hours than ever. It's probably return to the office is probably a better phrase, isn't it? And certainly have new respect for all the essential workers who've been keeping us going. And I hope that persists afterwards. I hope that's one of the things that does persist. Molly, your company's in a slightly different situation, not so much of a return to work, although I'm sure that some of the staffers have in, closer to the production part of it. How are you approaching this big moment? Because it is a big moment, isn't it?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Thanks so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be with you and Mark and Laura to talk about, yes, a really important issue. And I agree with so much of what Laura said. In our business, we've in many ways experienced three different experiences. One, our distribution centers have been open the entire time, luckily, and performing really critical, essential services for our business and for our customers. Our stores were closed for a period of time. And so that was obviously something we've never navigated as a business that we had to quickly figure out. And now, luckily, they're back and operating safely. And that's just been a wonderful transition back. But for our corporate associates, of which I am one, we have been working remotely in large part this entire time. Our office is open. People can go in if they choose to, but we just haven't seen a lot of associates doing that. And so we're preparing for September to be the time that we have more of a formal return. But frankly, we've been spending a lot of time setting expectations that will look different than it did before. That we have to acknowledge that we've all been through something we never have, and that our employees' expectations of work and life have been changed. And that as their employer and as the employer of future talent, we have to be prepared to offer flexibility in a different way. We were pretty progressive in our flexibility offering prior to the pandemic, but we are in the process now of really rethinking that even further, just to make sure that we're, again, where we need to be as it relates to attracting the top talent that we need to remain the beauty retailer that we want to be in this competitive industry.
Yeah, Mark, you've got a great perspective because you are seeing the lens not just through a global agency, but also all your global clients. So you're seeing it from different parts of the world, from different clients, as well as Zeno. So what's your perspective on that? And what do employers want? Because from their employees, and employee engagement has totally changed, hasn't it? It's become more informal in some ways, and some of those things maybe are going to persist afterwards.
Yeah, I think the word that Molly used is really important, and that's expectations. And it's really hard to get that those expectations calibrated between the employer and the employee, because so much has changed. It's almost as if there's a brand new compact, between the two sides. And everyone knows that there's going to be something different on the other side of this, but they don't know exactly what it is. And I think that this period up until now has been as difficult as it's been for a lot of companies. It's been an opportunity for them to test some things that they might not have tested before and to venture into some new areas. We've seen people become Zoom experts, that might not have even wanted to venture online. I will say we did some recent research, and we'll make this public in a while, but we did some research where we had actually asked employees about this return. And 7 out of 10 of them said that they don't want the same environment as they saw pre-COVID, right? They expect that there's going to be some sort of change, and they want that change to be on their terms, which is, sort of an interesting power dynamic when you think of how employers deal with employees. And at the same time, you're starting to hear CEOs signal what their expectations are for people coming back to the office. So we know it's going to be something different. And we know the way that people communicate and what they expect from employers is going to be a different environment. I just think that, we've talked about how there isn't a playbook. I think it's more that we're going to have to be very sensitive in the nuances across demographics, across market segments, across countries. And that's going to be, I think, the biggest challenge of all.
Yeah, because I think people are going to be quite nervous about going back into an office. I think I went back into our office just a couple of times over the past year. It's like walking in the Mary Celeste. There are printed pages on the wall from the March 2020 issue, that we were preparing at the time. It's like walking into a snapshot in time, and people aren't going to be used to commuting and being around people anymore. So it is going to be different. And a lot of people, Laura, have Some people have moved, right? They've moved out of the cities, they've moved home, or some people have moved to Costa Rica or whatever. When that sort of reconvenes, are you going to have a more flexible approach to where your team is based? And if so, if they were in New York and they get that nice sort of bump in salary for living in New York, and now they're living in Akron, Ohio, or whatever, are you still going to pay that? And then if you have to get them to the head office, are you going to pay the expenses? All these sort of practical issues as well, aren't they?
Yeah, so we're actually, interestingly, in the middle of a study with an outside consulting firm on, we're calling it Workplace Reimagined, because I think similar to what Mark said, everyone knows there's something else on the other side of this. And to go back to exactly the way it was before is very naive and not possible. And to just sort of guess what it is not possible. So we've done surveys, we've done benchmarking, we've asked our own people about the workplace they desire in the future. We've asked leaders what they desire. We've triangulated that against other experiences. I'll use an example. Like many years ago, way before I came to Goodyear, in the early days, almost as part of the factory environment, even office employees, there was a bell that told you when to go to your break. There was a bell that told you when to come back. There was a bell that told you when to go to lunch, and so on and so forth. That's the way things used to be. Now we fast forward to now, we would never go back to the bell. Like, that's just ridiculous. So I think that we would go back to exactly 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 in a seat every day is also unrealistic. But we also know that there are things that you get from being together that may be somewhat intangible. Hallway conversations, bumping into people in the cafeteria. There are things that happen together that aren't going to happen when you're just clicking from one Zoom meeting to another. And we know that flexibility is a preference, but we also have to balance that with being our best as a company, which probably means, some togetherness, maybe not to the same level, but we're actively working, studying to design the new normal before it just happens to us, which is the other possibility.
Yeah, I mean, there's no point in going back to an office and then everyone's sitting there doing Zoom calls, is there? That's just a kind of waste. Or everyone going back, but only on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we've got an empty office on Monday, Friday. Molly, women in the workforce have been particularly impacted over the past 14 months. We've seen many women either put their careers on hold or actually leave the workforce, and the increased pressures of working from home, homeschooling, most household management, which still falls to women, in a lot of cases. How do you manage that? The PR profession is 70% women. How do you manage that part of it, and how do you see the team returning after this big hiatus?
Yeah, it's a great question. From our perspective, 92% of our employees are female. So we are always thinking about the full diversity of our workforce, but clearly gender diversity is a big element of what we're balancing. And so that has been very present for us, as not only our corporate employees who have been managing the kids at home during remote schooling, both fathers and mothers. So we've tried to think, listen to our employees, what are their needs and what can we practically apply? And as Laura said, that through the lens of flexibility and also understanding that we were navigating something incredibly difficult. We needed to really deliver on the results for our business. And so we've implemented a few things that we've gotten continued good feedback on. One is we have a no meeting space from 12 to 1 every day. And that really stemmed from people had their kids at home and they needed to just ensure that they had a minute to give them lunch and to give themselves lunch. And that really, a small gesture, but has held. People have really stayed dedicated to it, and it has meant a lot to people. And the other thing we've done is in the afternoons on Fridays, we don't have meetings. Again, because of this back-to-back sort of meeting culture that the virtual world does make even easier, that has been really critical. But I'll tell you, even with those two things in place, because this has gone on so long, we're continuing to push ourselves to say what else might be out there to ensure that our associates' well-being is at the forefront of our mind. And then obviously that everything I just mentioned applies to our corporate associates, but we're very cognizant of how that feels equitable for our store associates and our distribution associates who obviously can't use those same tools for their own well-being. And so thinking about things that would apply to them. An example there this year is we closed on Thanksgiving for the first time this year. And that was, a meaningful decision that we made, that was just time that we wanted our associates obviously to have back with their families. So very top of mind for us.
Yeah, Mark, I mean, there are 4 generations in the workplace. We've got baby boomers through to Gen Z. How are those different groups going to be approached? Because, someone who's Gen Z and might have been living in a room share or on their own and be isolated is very different to a parent who might be living in the suburbs, et cetera, et cetera. What are the differences between the different generations of employees?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing, Steve, is that the importance really lies in those nuances that I talked about earlier, and looking and at least being first, I think it's acknowledging that exists in the first place, and that these generations, as much as they overlap, there are some values that they hold as being more different than the others, and really thinking very carefully so that you don't isolate or alienate any of those groups. I think that there seems to be this idea that, well, if you are at the younger age of the spectrum, you're more interested in social justice or in diversity and I think that's not necessarily true. There are values that do extend across the entire spectrum, but I think each of the groups wants to see it come to life in a different way. And they also, I think, look a bit differently at the opportunities that they have in front of them. And once again, people at the older end of the spectrum don't want to feel as if their careers are over and they are somehow being sunsetted, right? They want to feel like they can still have the opportunity to offer and bring something new, to that job. And this is the part that I think companies are really wrestling with, is how do you convey a consistent message and a consistent story and a consistent brand across an entire organization, knowing that you have all these different slices of a population that you need to think about. And I have to imagine, just both for Laura and for Molly, you've got to wrestle with this, all the time.
Yeah, it's the younger employees. When I was a young journalist, and I'm sure young PR professionals, you learn from listening to how other people do their job, don't you? And those older employees are great mentors, and you hear how they do it, how they deal with a client or deal with an issue, and you miss all that when you're working from home. Laura, you mentioned it earlier about this people on the manufacturing, in the frontline essential services being already sick of this great return. It's like, yeah, we've been here all along. How are you going to, because when everyone does come back to the office, there's bound to be a bit of a hullabaloo about it. How are you going to make sure you don't alienate half the workforce, but whilst also transitioning the rest of the workforce back to their normal environment?
Well, I think we're just taking a thoughtful and gradual approach. I mean, we've been at this. There have been several opportunities when, case counts were low, when we thought about, do we just bring people back in? And we decided, we've been, and I want to give compliments to our office-based workforce. We went from never working remotely to going home over a weekend and working entirely remotely. Yeah. So it's been quite a transition, and I think we have been very impressed with the sort of the resilience and ability and technical aptitude of our associates to do that. I don't think it changes a lot for the folks in our factories, for the folks in the retail stores. We're not planning to make it too celebratory. It's just, let's get back to some semblance of normal with additional levels of flexibility built in, which, by the way, those people in the factories don't always have, and the people in the retail stores don't always have. But I don't think life changes for them again. I think they've sort of been staying the course, keeping our customers served, keeping consumers served, and then their colleagues in office-based roles are going to return to the workplace on some frequency, and life will go on and will be better for all this.
Yeah, let's hope so. Molly, the role of the CEO and the C-suite's been interesting, hasn't it? I mean, when you're on a Zoom call and you're the CEO and you're doing a town hall, everyone can kind of see, oh, look, that's where they live, you know, or that's what they've got. Oh, look at that picture or whatever. And it kind of personalizes the relationship a little bit in a way that probably hadn't happened before. And I get the sense that some CEOs have loved that, actually, and that they might continue that more personalized approach to employee engagement. What's your views on that?
Yeah, we have a very interesting moment in time happening from that perspective, as well as we have a CEO transition happening, a long planned internal succession where we have a long successful CEO who is becoming our executive chair, and then our president is becoming CEO as of just early June. And so it's been just incredibly interesting. And yeah, I would say both of our CEOs right now and the rest of our C-suite team have really embraced it. I give them all the credit in the world of continually thinking about how they can use this as an opportunity to engage with our associates in new ways across all three areas of our business. And so a couple things that we've done. One, we quickly instituted two things: a weekly video from our CEO, our current CEO, Mary, so that the entire organization was hearing from her weekly. And that has been incredibly helpful. And we did that right away, really in the height of the crisis, but kept it going, because while we weren't, having updates like furloughing associates or closing stores, really important business updates. So we've kept that up. In addition, bringing all of our officers together with some frequency. Again, it started weekly. Now we're doing it every other week. But just another way to bring that leadership team together and connect them. And then when we were talking about the generational differences, it reminded me, the virtual world has given us really fun opportunities to just connect in ways from an associate engagement standpoint that we might not have before. And so we've done a ton of that. And our CEO and other C-level leaders have been a part of that. So we just did a fireside chat around generational differences. So we had a panel of our own associates representing each of the generations we have in the workforce, and had just a really fun conversation about what that means. And so we've done all sorts of things like that our team, our C-level team, has engaged in.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's been wonderful.
Good stuff, and long may that continue. Mark,
yes.
we didn't just have a COVID, a pandemic and a recession, but we also had big societal issues. We had a very divisive election. We had the storming of the Capitol. It's been an incredible year all round. In the corporate world, brands and corporations are kind of expected to step up and make statements, or people want to know what they believe in, whether they're going to engage with them or work for them. So employees want to know what their company stands for. How have you been approaching that part of it as a corporate, a senior counselor from the corporate point of view?
Well, once again, we see that expectation word come up again, right? There's this rising expectation from society at large that CEOs will have something to say. Executives will be out there having a point of view on news of the day. And then I think employees want to see that too. And they take some pride in the fact that their CEO is out there on issues that matter to them. But I also think that we're trying to help clients think through being deliberate about that and not following the parade. So not every issue is an issue that you need to weigh in on. Not every issue is an issue that you need to be public about and take a public stance. I think that being more thoughtful about them, it's difficult, but being more thoughtful about them, I think actually increases your level of trust and also increases the level of resonance that you have with your own workers. So one of the things that we have been talking to clients about is using technology and using research, not to ask employees to vote on what they think, the company's position should be, but at least to do some degree of a pulse check. Right? Not wait until those issues happen, but get out there early, do a pulse check, and get a sense for what employees think about issues of the day, so that when management decides this is one that matters to us, they'll have that perspective and be able to use it to their advantage. Again, it's not an issue of everybody gets in and votes as much as why go into it cold. I think there's too much of an assumption that people can make in positions of power that they assume that they know exactly what everyone in their company thinks. And if you are a company that is operating in 180 countries around the world and has 60 or 100,000 employees, I guarantee you there are differences in points of view within your company. And at this point in time, with labor shortages and difficulty in recruitment, you can't afford to alienate large groups of workers. So again, it's all about being deliberate and thoughtful and choosing the moments that really benefit society, benefit the company, benefit your employees.
And you need good PR counsel, both internally and from your agencies. So yeah, so it's good for PR pros. We're out of time. Just one quick go around. What's the one thing that's top of mind for your employee engagement in the rest of 2021 and moving into 22? First up, Laura, very quickly.
We are currently in the process of acquiring a competitor. So the successful close of that transaction and successful integration into our business is our top issue.
Yeah, it's normal business carries on, doesn't it? So yeah, how about you, Molly?
Feedback, we're implementing a new pulse survey mechanism. So continuing to get feedback and quick action for our employees.
And Mark?
I mentioned the research that we have done, and one of the things that came out of that we are focusing is this idea that there's a large number of employees out there who are happy in their jobs, and that same number of employees are willing to hop. Like, despite the fact that they are happy in their jobs, they are looking for opportunities, and if they don't see those opportunities within the company they work for, they are more interested and eager than ever to find it someplace else. So we think that that's an opportunity for clients to really think carefully about that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Thank you so much, Laura. Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Mark. Great discussion about the great return and beyond that. And we can't solve everything in 25 minutes, but there's been some great insights there. And now we'll get you back to the awards, the big winners, and hope you enjoy the show.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to Zeno Group and Steve Barrett. And now it's time for the second installment of the PRWeek Global Awards 2021 ceremony. Here's your host, journalist and broadcaster, Hannah Vaughan-Jones.
Hello again, and thanks so much for joining us for the second part of the 2021 PRWeek Global Awards as we celebrate and champion the very best work across the global PR industry. Now, we've already rewarded 10 fantastic winners in the first part of these awards, and we're looking forward to revealing many more. Once again, thanks to all of you who entered. We had over 300 entries up for the shortlist, and in just a moment we will reveal our next 11 winners. First, though, a word from some of this year's judges.
I'm absolutely impressed by the high standard of ideas and by the great execution of truly integrated approaches under such difficult circumstances. The pandemic has not slowed down but accelerated creativity. The entrants have proven to respond to the new challenges and mind-blowing speed and agility, literally overnight exploring new ways of working and adjusting long-planned activities to the scenarios no one could foresee how they really unfold, with amazing results. Creativity really flourishes under pressure.
These are the change makers of this industry and really sort of showed us that impact goes well beyond awareness. Congratulations to you all.
It was an honor and a real pleasure to be part of the jury of the Global PRWeek Awards. Many entries were really fabulous, great work that I have been able to evaluate. I must say that I was impressed by the vast amount of quality campaigns delivered throughout the world.
The quality of the work that I saw from all of the campaigns was absolutely superlative, not just in terms of the creative bravery involved, but the societal, the commercial, the reputational outcomes for so many clients as well. And it was even more remarkable when it was delivered during a time of COVID.
And you made our lives really difficult because the quality of the work right across the board was incredible. So congratulations to the winners and thank you to everyone that took the time and the trouble to enter.
Congratulations to all the winners. You should be proud.
Hi everyone. I'm so sorry we can't be together in person to celebrate all of the phenomenal work that you put forward this year. You certainly didn't make it easy for our judges. And please know that while we can't be together, I'm certainly raising a toast to all of you and can't wait till we can celebrate in person next year. Cheers.
We'll reveal the first of those judges' winners in just a moment. And please remember to spread the word about them and today's celebrations at PRWeek Global and hashtag PRWeek Global Awards. OK then, we start with the award for public sector, and Alan Dedicote has news of all the contenders. Alan.
I do indeed, Hannah. And first on the list, Shaping the Future Through the 2020 Census for the US Census Bureau by BCW Global. Making the Global Goals Personal for the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation by Hill & Knowlton Strategies. Then 2 by Orange 360, For One Life for Dakota, Program Your Vaccination with GlaxoSmithKline, and Storytellers. And finally, Oxford University's COVID-19 research. Now from those, there's a high commendation from the judges for Hill & Knowlton Strategies. Well done to you.
Yes, well done indeed. But the public sector winner is... It's Oxford University's COVID-19 research.
This winner was an excellent submission, defining goals and revealing extraordinary results, going beyond data to show how an academic institution used strategic global comms to inform and educate the public. A huge endeavour with impressive results. Public sector winner, Oxford University's COVID-19 research.
Alan, thank you so much. Next, Best Corporate Branding. And Alan has 6 strong contenders for the title and, of course, the trophy. Back to you.
I do, Hannah, starting with 2 by Hill & Knowlton Strategies, Building Awareness and Credibility Beyond a Niche Audience for Bybed. And their Life's Good brand rejuvenation campaign for LG Electronics. Then from Henry Howard Finance to Propel, Rebranding for Results by Propel Finance. Where Science Meets Humanity for Biogen by Ruder Finn. And finally 2 by Sherlock Communications, Bringing ACAS Stories to Mexico, and Making the Internet Business Ready for Akamai. Now from those, there are 2 high commendations. One goes to Hill & Knowlton Strategies for their Life's Good brand rejuvenation campaign, and a high commendation is awarded to Sherlock Communications for bringing ACAS Stories to Mexico. Hannah.
Thanks, Alan. But the judges' corporate branding winner is... It's from Henry Howard Finance to Propel, Rebranding for Results by Propel Finance. Congratulations.
This winner was a classic, brilliantly executed branding and design project that's produced some impressive results from a small yet highly professional team, creating high-impact work on a relatively small budget. Superb execution with high impact. Winning then for corporate branding from Henry Howard Finance to Propel, Rebranding for Results by Propel Finance.
Congratulations. Now we move on, and next it's the best campaign in the Middle East with 6 strong contenders for this PRWeek Global Award.
Absolutely, and starting with 2 by Asdar BCW, A Voice for Change, 12th Annual Asdar BCW Arab Youth Survey 2020, and Where You Shop Matters for Visa. Then 3 from Hill & Knowlton Strategies, hashtag Month of Good for Instagram, Daria Season for the Saudi Ministry of Sport, and Gamers Without Borders for the Saudi Arabian Federation for Electronic and Intellectual Sports. And finally, launching WWE Network in the Middle East. From those, I can tell you there's a judge's high commendation for Hill & Knowlton Strategies and hashtag Month of Good. Congratulations, Hannah.
Well done to all the nominees, but the best campaign in the Middle East is... Gamers Without Borders by Hill & Knowlton Strategies.
This winner made what one judge called a stellar impact through a well-planned and perfectly timed global campaign, which leveraged into a clear movement among the gaming community to do good during COVID. The award for Best Campaign for the Middle East to Hill & Knowlton Strategies and Gamers Without Borders.
Many congratulations, and Alan, thank you. Next up, it's Issues and Crisis, a strongly contested category with 7 commendable finalists.
And they are Beating the Pirates, stopping one of the largest heists in corporate history by Be In Media Group. Not Safe at Home for Bundesministerium für Familie, Senioren, Frauen und Jugend by Edelman. IBM drives change with facial recognition product withdrawal. Arresting the spread of COVID in Asia's largest slum for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation by IPG Dextra India. Clorox and the dual PR pandemic, weathering a perfect storm of crises. For Clorox by Ketchum. Pharmacists at the centre of Walgreens' COVID-19 response by Walgreens Boots Alliance. And Dogs on Zoom for Pedigree by Weber Shandwick. And from those, Hannah, there's a high commendation from the judges for IPG Dextra India. Congratulations.
Alan, thank you. But the Issues and Crisis PR Week Global Award goes to Beating the Pirates by Be In Media Group. Well done.
This was a fascinating campaign to solve a business problem with impressive results when a local issue went global and geopolitical. A relentless and dogged campaign underpinned by heavyweight stakeholder advocacy. And at the end of the day, the bad guy lost. Issues and Crisis winner, Be In Media Group and Beating the Pirates.
Thank you very much, Alan. Now it's time for the best global PR breakthrough in the spotlight.
And these are the contenders for the title. Period for Intimina by Cow. Silent Slaughter for International Organization for Peace Building and Social Justice by Gin. Hashtag Womb Stories for Essity Bodyform by Ketchum. Hashtag Mess Free Challenge for General Mills by Thinkerbell. And 2 by Weber Shandwick. Be Kind Rewind, a sleepover at the world's last blockbuster for Airbnb. And Our One Home for Fauna and Flora International. And then hashtag I Masturbate Do You, Lily Allen in collaboration with Womanizer by WowTech Europe. Now from those there is a high commendation and that goes to Ketchum. Congratulations to you, Hannah.
Good luck to all, but I can now reveal that the winning global PR breakthrough is Period by Cow.
This winner was a major step in removing any stigma surrounding women's bodies and periods. With a simple, powerful, creative concept on a small budget, it portrayed challenges with impressive results, while raising Intimina's global profile. Global PR breakthrough winner, Period by Cow.
Thanks, Alan. Next, it's global content and no fewer than 7 contenders. Good luck.
Thank you. Starting with hashtag A Better Plant-Based Future for Upfield by APCO Worldwide. Love It Like the First Time by Be In Sports. Then 2 by Lenovo. New Realities elevates young women's voices around the globe. And Zeno and Lenovo reshape realities with the world's first foldable PC. Then Opportunity 2030, the Standard Chartered UN SDG investment map, for Standard Chartered by Man Bites Dog. The Unknown Power of Visual Content in Latin America for Getty Images by Sherlock Communications. And finally, My Shade of Pink for Roche by Weber Shandwick.
Expertly done there, Alan. Well, from that powerful shortlist, the Global Content Award goes to Opportunity 2030, the Standard Chartered UN SDG investment map by Man Bites Dog. Congratulations.
By focusing on a little discussed aspect of very current sustainable development goals, this massive project covering some 15 countries has successfully elevated Standard Chartered to thought leader in this area of finance. Global content winner Man Bites Dog and Opportunity 2030, the Standard Chartered UN SDG investment map.
The PR Week Global Award for Global Event Activation is coming up next, and Alan has an impressive shortlist of 3 contenders for this one.
I do, Hannah, and those 3 are World's First Virtual Green Carpet Fashion Awards by EcoAge and Pulse Films. Enabling the 2020 Virtual US Open by IBM and the USTA. And hashtag Priceless Wave for MasterCard by Talker Taylor Troublemaker. Now first, there is the judges' high commendation for IBM and the USTA. Hannah.
Alan, thank you. And I can now reveal that taking the Global Event Activation Award is World's first virtual green carpet fashion awards by EcoAge and Pulse Films.
This winner cleverly took advantage of a moment in time to create a more sustainable event digitally. Using influencers to convey the message, it achieved very impressive viewership. And in terms of scale, beauty, creativity and impact, this PRWeek Global Award winner packs a huge punch. Global Event Activation winner, EcoAge, Pulse Films and World's First Virtual Green Carpet Fashion Awards.
And many congratulations. Next up, the award for global integration, for which there's a shortlist of 7 strong contenders. Alan.
Now, Hannah, those contenders are Love It Like the First Time by Be In Sports. That's Debatable by IBM. Infinity's innovative launches in a COVID world for the Infinity Motor Company by IMRI. Hashtag In It Together by LinkedIn. Looks Like You Need to Let It Out for Promote Iceland by M&C Saatchi Talk, SS&K, M&C Saatchi Group, M&C Saatchi Sport and Entertainment NYC, Ascensius, Headspace Public Relations, Peel Iceland and Scott. Hashtag Mess-Free Challenge for General Mills by Thinkerbell and Gray. And Completed It Mate, helping Papa John's level up in lockdown by W Communications. So, from those, there is a high commendation, and that's for hashtag Mess-Free Challenge by Thinkerbell and Gray. Hannah.
And well done to all of the nominees in this category. But the global integration winner is Looks Like You Need to Let It Out for Promote Iceland.
Now, when one of your metrics is 59,224 screens, you know you've done something really special. And the positive brand identity associated with giving people reason to do just that extends well beyond near-term travel bookings, showcasing the beauty of one nation and making it relevant to its audiences. Global integration winner, Looks Like You Need to Let It Out for Promote Iceland.
Our next award is for the best agency in the Middle East, and Alan has 5 impressive finalists for this accolade. Alan.
You know, Hannah, I have, and those 5 are APCO Worldwide, Asda BCW, Hill & Knowlton Strategies, Catch International, and Marketeers. And I can tell you now, from those, there is a judge's high commendation, and that goes to Asda BCW.
But the best agency in the Middle East is Hill & Knowlton Strategies.
This winner ticked all the boxes: impressive growth, remarkable working relationships with major companies, strong creative capabilities, and a broad scope of offerings, not to mention its focus on their people. PR Global's best agency in the Middle East, Hill & Knowlton Strategies.
Next up, the award for the best PR professional in the Middle East. And this time there's no shortlist, just one deserving outright winner. So, the best PR professional in the Middle East is Weber Shandwick Minat's Ziad Hasbani.
Clearly a people-focused leader, Ziad is a prime example of a PR professional who walks the talk. An all-inclusive leader and a mentor with a huge level of ambition that's translated into double-digit growth, despite a pandemic. Best PR professional in the Middle East, Weber Shandwick's Minat's Ziad Hasbani.
And many congratulations. Our final award in this section is the PRWeek Global Award for Best International Agency. So, here come the contenders for this title.
Well, Hannah, these are the international agencies in contention for this top award. Clarity, Gembay Consultants, GCI Health, Hotwire, Lansons, Manifest, and Sherlock Communications.
Thanks, Alan. I can now reveal that taking the PRWeek trophy for the best international agency is... it's GCI Health.
The judges were hugely impressed by their winners' case studies and great work. Despite a pandemic, GCI Health managed to thrive across the board in areas important not just to clients, but society at large. PRWeek Global's best international agency winner, GCI Health.
Well, that is it for our second part of the presentations. Huge congratulations to all the finalists, the high commendations, and of course, especially to our winners. Thanks to you as well so much for joining us. We'll be back online later, right here, to reveal this year's final winners, including the Global Agency 2021 and the Best Campaign of the Year. Hope you can join us later.